gorgeous? Does that funk have you feeling stuck? Have you questioning your purpose, or even yet having you asking if your best years are behind you? Girl, you have zero obligation to stay in that funk. This podcast is for women who want to get the funk out of here, who want to play bigger, ask for more, and step out of mediocrity. Imagine a life filled with lots of energy, excitement, and filled with spunk instead of that funk. This is the After 40 Unfunk Your Mind podcast. I'm your host, Crystal, and I'm ready to talk some shit. Let's go! Hey, Superwoman, welcome back. And if it's your first time here, awesome, all are welcome. So I just got back from the gym, and it is super busy always around this time of year. People are trying to execute on their fitness goals that they set at the new year, and it's just busier, but the energy is high because the excitement is high. People want to be there. They want to crush their New Year's goals. But you know this story, and we all know how it turns out, right? At the end of February, early March, most of the people will have set those fitness goals down, and we'll never hear from them or see them again. How many of us can relate to these people? Setting a goal and then having to lay it down for whatever reason. Work, kids, relationship, the list goes on, right? Now let's go a little deeper and find out why it was so easy for you to set that goal down and let something take its place. There is so much power in questions, questioning your beliefs, your thoughts, your actions. And the most powerful question is why. And even more powerful, when you ask the why on the why. And here's what I mean. During COVID, I got to take a training with Tony Robbins, and they called this exercise the 7 layers of why. It's where you ask why 7 times. I actually practiced this with a coaching friend, and her original thought or her original goal was that she always needed to keep her weight around 135 pounds. When we asked why 7 times, by the time we got to the 7th why, she literally had tears coming out of her eyes. That 7th why exposed that her hang up with her weight was because her father had a heart attack, and the doctors attributed it to obesity. She had never really thought about why she had this hang up of keeping her weight around 135. But here's the thing. That was her deeper level why. When you understand your 7th why, you're less likely to lay down that goal when something else comes up. When you only scratch the surface, meaning you only take your first, let's say, 3 answers from your why, it's not enough to motivate you to keep going, to try the thing. Let's take that last example. She wanted to stay at 135. Why? Because her clothes started to feel too tight after 135. Why? Because she made poor food choices. Okay, so you get the picture, and I'm sure you can see by now how having that 7th layer of why is more motivating than just taking those quick answers to your why in the first 2 questions. There is so much power in questions, and it doesn't have to be the question why. Asking questions constantly focuses our mind. It helps us come alive. You can also ask, what am I making that mean? I remember the first time when I met a family that actually had their own private plane. Now, I had a lot of thoughts about it, but I realized I was making it mean that I was less important. I was less of a person because they had a private plane and I didn't. How ridiculous, right? But it's funny how questions can expose some of these things sitting in our subconscious mind, things we might not really truly be aware of. Asking questions helps bring these to the surface, to the forefront, if you will. Asking questions, and let me say this, asking higher quality questions produces higher quality answers. And asking these higher quality questions allows you to become or start to become an active participant in your life. Think about it. You ask your kids a lot of questions, right, after they come home from school, or if they're out of school when they come home about how's life going. You want to know all the details. And even with your spouse or partner, hey, how was work? You're all up in their business. But when it comes to your business, You're not asking any questions. It's like you're on the couch watching everybody else's reality shows instead of creating your own reality, creating your own life. During our younger years, I think we only focus on what pays our bills. What are the needs of our spouse, our partner, our children, our parents? We've made work about survival and certainty, but we forgot to ask ourselves, does it give back to you? How are you expressing yourself? How do you get lit up? Instead of asking, what do you do? Ask, what are you for? Remember when you were in school and the teacher asked a question and you finally had the answer? You raised your hand, pick me. Well, the same excitement is generated when you ask yourself a question and you know what lights you up. You know what you stand for. You start to get excited and everything around you starts to improve. You're engaged. You get more done. And that energy, it's contagious. It starts to affect members of your team, of your family. And that saying, when it rains, it pours, that's when you're in flow. You thought you're lucky? No, your energy is aligned there because you're alive. It creates enjoyment in the experience instead of focusing on the outcome. You lose all sense of time. You're just loving being in the moment and loving the experience. You have given so much attention to survival, health benefits, certainty. It's time to start asking questions about your needs. Because once you get in flow, you start to push your own boundaries. You start to step over limitations little by little to where they turn into bigger and bigger. It's time to interrupt your life. Ask yourself questions in the car. That's where you'll find me doing it most of the time. Perhaps people think I'm singing, but I'm really talking to myself, asking myself so many questions. Matter of fact, this is where I really learned that my goal was never really to be a billionaire. Oh, I love the thought of being a billionaire. When I started asking myself questions like, what would I do with it? Why do I want to be a billionaire? I learned that through questions, I really just want freedom, schedule freedom, financial freedom, location freedom, freedom to give back, freedom to just be me in this world. It was all about freedom. And guess what? That is available to me right now. I can be free. I don't have to be a billionaire. I am free. And another thing that I've learned through the power of questions is that everything you think is not true. Did you hear me? Everything you think is not true. So it's vital we ask ourselves questions. Let's weed out what's not true. Let's weed out what's negative. A negative mind will never create a positive life. Let's weed out what's not serving us. Why keep that in our mind and take up space if it's not serving us? And when we ask the question or questions, don't just take the simple answer or answers. We've got to go deeper and get that deeper why, that deeper answer to the question, to light fires under our butts. By asking questions, it will allow us to press Control-Alt-Delete to erase some of that programming that we've grown up with, that we've stored in our subconscious. For instance, I always thought that success was when I studied really hard, got good grades so I could find a great job and make a great living. It took me a long time to press Control-Alt-Delete on that programming. It took me a long time to find it, to find that programming that was buried deep inside of me since childhood. It was exposed through the power of questions. And by digging deep and asking myself tons of questions, I've now done my children a favor, right? Because success has many different meanings and means something different to everybody else. It doesn't mean study hard, go to college, get good grades, get a good job, and make lots of money. It doesn't mean that for everybody. It's not a one-size-fits-all. And now I open up my kids to other opportunity, other possibility, because I did the work on myself and I can now share that with my children. So perhaps you're in a little funk because you've had tunnel vision. You've been so focused on surviving, paying the bills, health benefits, taking care of everybody around you. And there's nothing wrong with that. But it's time to step out of that tunnel vision and just start asking yourself some questions. Be gentle with yourself. Some of these questions will make you so frustrated because you'll tell yourself you don't know the answer. You don't know. And remember what I said last episode. Stop telling yourself you don't know and just tell yourself, let me figure it out, because it matters what you say to yourself. And there will be this urge to sidestep because the questions might get uncomfortable when you start asking them and keep asking yourself over and over to get deeper. You'll want to check your social, text your husband to bring something home from the grocery, mop the floor. You've got to stick with it and persevere. Ask the questions. Keep playing. Be your own active participant in your life. It's important that you go back to being that kid that has the answer to the question. Raising your hand. Pick me. I want to be involved in my life. I have the answers. And now I'm going to leave you with something very profound. You remember the saying, drunk does what sober thinks? Well, I'm going to save you a few bucks because you don't actually need the alcohol. You just need to start asking yourself a few questions. It's time to show up in your life, girl. Get up all in your business. Are you ready? Start asking yourself questions. And let's go. Before you go, Superwoman, I'd love it if you took a little action for me. Like, subscribe to my podcast and leave a review. Also, share the episode with a friend. And as a thank you, hit up my website to crystalsumner.com, thecrystalsumner.com, to grab free journal prompts. Okay, ladies, now is the time to go on Funk Your Mind, play bigger, and ask for more. Open the door to possibility and cancel playing small. So get up and go.